The Wonderful World of Darklords. Report 21. Mononoke Forest. It took me several attempts to enter Mononoke Forest. As I would later learn, the borders were often kept closed. I wandered from the mists to various parts of San Francisco so many times that I thought at first Callahan was the one who had closed the borders to prevent me from leaving. It was on my fourth attempt, when I stumbled into Nottingham, that I knew that it was my destination and not my origin point that had closed. After over a day, I at last emerged on a forested mountain pass in the midst of a harried-looking trade caravan. Men with rifles guarded ox carts laden with grain, smithing tools, a few bolts of fabric. Nothing that accounted for the apprehension on their faces or the white knuckles on their weapons. They looked for all the world as though they were transporting priceless jewels through a forest filled with bandits. Although they were shocked by my sudden appearance and assailed me with questions, they went silent at a word from their leader, and I soon learned what frightened them. As at least half a dozen dire boars burst from the forest in front of us, a pair of dire wolves set upon us from behind, hemming us in. The men panicked, firing their rifles, and only the cool voice of their leader kept them from breaking entirely. For my part, I assumed my form of dread and used an eldritch blast to aid them in the battle. The wolves retreated after knocking the heaviest of the ox carts from the cliff, and I caught sight of a young woman riding one of them as though it were a horse. The boars fought to the death, their bodies tumbling from the mountainside to join the lost supplies. This was my introduction to the animal gods of Mononoke Forest, the people of Irontown, and the never-ending thirst for conflict that drives them both to destruction. The Lords. The leader of the caravan, a tall, composed woman in a blue cloak, thanked me for my aid and asked me to return with him to Irontown, saying that the forest was not safe for humans. I soon learned that her name was Lady Eboshi, and that she commanded almost supernatural levels of devotion from her people. Eldritch Sight proved, however, that almost is a vital word in this case. Their love stems not from magic, but from her force of personality and from the largesse she has shown them. Apparently, Lady Eboshi saved many of the people of Irontown from desperate straits, buying the contracts of unhappy brothel girls, bandaging the wounds of lepers, and providing all of them with a sense of community and purpose. Small wonder that their loyalty verges on fanaticism. Given what I have seen over the course of my journeys, I expected conditions in Irontown to border on slavery, but despite the hard work, the people there find joy and dignity in their labor. They do, however, live in fear of the forest spirits, the massive, intelligent animals that attacked their caravan, led by a young human woman they call the Wolf Girl, or Princess Mononoke. Eboshi claims that the wolves stole Princess Mononoke's soul, and that if she is able to destroy enough of the forest, the girl's humanity will be restored. Conveniently for Eboshi, this deforestation would also provide access to the rich veins of iron within the mountain. Reading between the lines as the people of Irontown told me about their valiant leader, I saw a picture that was less flattering than the one they sought to paint. They told me of how the Wolf Girl attacked their supply lines without mercy and with little concern for her own people, the boars knocking over the very trees they sought to protect in their mad rush for human blood, the apes twisting into unnatural monsters as they devoured the flesh of their foes. However, they elided and justified Lady Eboshi's tendencies to do the same, leaving her people for dead when they suffered injury, sending them further and further into the perilous forests to dig for iron, even when they had more than enough. They were happy to die for her, but die for her they did. The land. Irontown is surrounded on all sides by Mononoke Forest. It has no farmland. Even if the pollutants from its refineries left the soil arable, I doubt the forest spirits would leave any farmers in peace. And so the people must regularly undergo dangerous supply runs through the forest in order both to feed themselves and to sell the iron and magical rifles that their blood purchased. The people's descriptions of the supply runs lead me to suspect that both Princess Mononoke and Lady Eboshi have a measure of control over the land's borders, and that both prefer them closed as often as possible. The Wolf Girl wishes to starve out the villagers, while Eboshi seeks to protect her precious iron and guns from attackers. Despite Irontown's fortifications and considerable firepower, her fears are justified, as the quality of their weaponry has proven an enticing target for many a would-be conqueror. To hear some of her people tell it, Irontown has fended off more Felkovnian invasion attempts than Darkon has. As for the forest, the people claim that there was once a powerful spirit who ruled over all of it, a sort of local god who held dominion over life during the day and death during the night. This is no mere mythology, as several citizens of Irontown have seen its massive Nightwalker form with their own eyes. Eboshi seeks to kill it, an act that would surely destroy all of the forest's magic and power, but it has not appeared in years, and she's desperate for someone to find reports of it. I could not have asked for a better opportunity to enter the forest with the blessing and support of Irontown than to pretend to seek the forest spirit for them. And truthfully, I would have been delighted to find it, although I would not have shared its whereabouts with Eboshi. I refused their offer to take a rifle with me. I claimed that it was because I did not know how to load and fire it, but in truth, something about it felt strange and wrong in my hands. I now believe that this hesitancy saved my life. Dread possibilities. I expected Mononoke Forest to have an atmosphere similar to the Seany, a sense that I was prey, an ambulatory piece of meat in a world that was not my own. I was not prepared for the numinous sense of awe that permeated it. It was a world that was not my own, yes, but that was because it was a sacred place, and I was not welcome to participate in its mysteries. Now that I was here, the idea of finding the forest spirit was almost laughable, but I could still investigate the forest for my report. I proceeded cautiously, knowing my life would likely be forfeit if Princess Mononoke or the wolves recognized me from the Irontown caravan. Unfortunately, I had no guide here as I did in the Seany, and my knowledge of woodland survival is limited. Thus, my plan was to get a general sense of the land, then return to Irontown in attempts to leave on the next supply run. As I traveled through the towering trees, making note of paw and hoof prints to match the size of any that I had seen in the Seany, I glimpsed a tiny, translucent form perched on a rock in front of me. Its shape was crudely humanoid, like a doll, and its oversized head rattled like a miniature percussion instrument. I found myself smiling at the little creature. With a jolt of panic, I wondered whether it had cast some sort of enchantment to make me feel kindly disposed toward it. However, Eldritch Sight revealed that its only magical aura was transmutation, which was explained when the creature briefly faded from sight, then reappeared. The little creature ran into the forest, occasionally looking over its shoulder to see whether I was following. I've heard enough stories about will-o'-the-wisps and other such terrors to be wary, and I held a bit of gauze at ready so I could cast gaseous form and escape at a moment's notice. Nonetheless, my instincts told me that I could trust the creature, and that even if it were leading me into danger, I would learn something about the forest. As I followed, I heard the rumbling of 1,000 hoofbeats behind me. I turned to see a massive sounder of boars, squealing and snarling that they had once again borne the brunt of Irontown's attack, while Moro's human whelp escaped unscathed. Bringing up the rear was a white boar so large that my head would scarcely have cleared his snout. He cautioned the other boars to silence, whether because he did not approve of their words or because he heard my footfalls, I do not know, before his enormous head swiveled in my direction. Panicked, I cast gaseous form, ensuring that I would travel with neither sound nor scent, and followed the little forest spirit that I now knew was escorting me away from danger. When I returned to Irontown, I learned that the creature was called a Kodama, and that it had lured many of the people of Irontown directly into the waiting teeth and tusks of the forest spirits. Had I been carrying one of the proffered rifles, I believe the Kodama would not have been so kindly disposed toward me. Parting thoughts. After about a week, I accompanied the next caravan out of Irontown, knowing the borders would be open for it. Some of the men in the caravan were actually eager to face down the wolves, apes, and boars, as they had lost friends in their last excursion. Given what I had heard from the boars, I suspect the feeling was mutual. As I entered the mists with a wedding ring as a mist talisman, I mused on my patron's words about Callahan and San Francisco, and wondered if perhaps there was more to all of these furious, vengeful beings than I had thought. Their rage was an expression of their grief, and that in and of itself is a sign that there was something human and vulnerable within them. For what is grief, if not love persevering? Regards, D.
Even if the little mercenary managed to get his overreaching hands on one of Lady Eboshi's unique firearms, Drakov shall never obtain success in his military campaigns. A weapon designed to kill a god would only provide him with a minute advantage. After all, a weapon is only as competent as the one who wields it. A pity my servant did not obtain one of these weapons. It would have been an interesting diversion to determine if they are, in fact, capable of the feats Lady Eboshi claims, or if it is simply that the creatures of the forest have a strong aversion to iron. These forest gods and spirits may be nothing more than powerful fey creatures, which are known for their disdain of iron, and an iron sling bolt may be just as effective against them. It is the nature of these lands to remain stagnant, though perhaps less so for those ruled by two opposing forces. The battle for the dominion over nature will never cease in Mononoke Forest. However, an influential outsider with unclouded eyes may be able to turn the tide in such conflicts, if given the opportunity. This is likely why my servant met with some difficulty in embarking on her survey, and then upon her arrival was shortly courted by both sides. It is wise to separate yourself from such disputes, for those that insert themselves in the affairs of dreadlords rarely come out unscratched.
This has been The Wonderful World of Darklords. We have no affiliation with Disney or Wizards of the Coast. All music recordings used in this episode are in the public domain and were obtained through museopen.org. Titles and links are in the show notes. Dialogue for Yensid was written by Aslan Rex himself, who you can follow on Tumblr at DarklordAslan. The Wonderful World of Darklords logo was designed by Haylight Jones. You can find links to their work in the show notes. If you'd like to support the show, look for us on patreon.com or find our tip jar on Red Circle. Thanks for listening.